Yes, sir.
Yes, you can see this. Okay. So we were done. Till the angular momentum of Bohr model is integral multiple of nh upon 2 pi. nh upon 2 pi. Now write the next topic: mathematical analysis of Bohr model. Mathematical analysis of Bohr's model. Okay. Now, in this portion, you will have to remember a few things. Okay, you have to remember a few things. First is the radius of orbit. Okay, there are a few things. The first one is radius of orbit. Radius of orbit according to a Bohr's model. So for if you have an orbit n, its radius will be equal to 0.529 into n square upon z angstrom into z angstrom. Now you can simply understand this in this way. You have radius of nth orbit, right? You have radius of nth orbit. Now tell me, if I have the first orbit, will the radius be larger for first or second? Okay, who are present here? Okay, Abhinav, Muhammad Umar, everyone is here. Okay, so we're doing mathematical analysis of Bohr model, in which we will learn a few results from the Bohr model pertaining to its radius and mostly energy. Okay, in the first part, we have seen that radius is 0.0529 into n square upon z angstrom. Walaikum assalam, Muhammad Umar. Abhinav, you tell me, whose radius will be greater? Whose radius will be greater? Of first orbit or second orbit? Of first orbit or second orbit? Whose radius will be greater? Abhinav, can you hear me? Good afternoon, Nada. How are you?
I'm good, Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm also good. Thank you. Yes, Muhammad Umar, right? Second will have a higher radius than first. Okay. And as we can see, radius is directly proportional to the orbit. And also tell me, if the protons, the number of proton is higher, okay, the number of protons is higher, that means the Z is higher. Then what will happen if the Z is higher? Electron will experience more attraction, right? And the radius will decrease. And the radius will decrease, right? The radius will decrease. So we can see that R is directly proportional to n square, and it is inversely proportional to the charge on the nucleus. It is inversely proportional on the charge on the nucleus. Okay, understand in this way. The next is the total energy of the electron. Total energy of the electron. Okay, I will ask something here. Total energy of electron. Whenever you feel a force, for example, if you are feeling some kind of gravitational force, it means that you have some kind of potential energy. Now, the electron here, it is experiencing a pulling force from the nucleus of the atom, and that is why it should have a potential energy. And since electron is revolving, it should also have a kinetic energy. So total energy is equal to, for electron, total energy for electron will be equal to the kinetic energy and the potential energy. Okay, so we'll first find, okay, let me write it like this rather than and a plus sign. First we will look at the kinetic energy. Okay, first we will look at the kinetic energy. Now from the centrifugal force and the Coulombic force, centrifugal and centripetal force, we have come to, we came to one conclusion, which was mv square upon r is equal to k ze square upon r square. In this, I can eliminate a few things. I can eliminate this r square and I can eliminate this r. Now I will do one addition, that is I will multiply this part with half and I will multiply this part with half. right? Now, as I have got half mv square, this half mv square is nothing but the kinetic energy, right? It will be the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy will be equal to k z e square upon r. Kz e square upon r. Now let us find out the potential energy. What will be the potential energy? Please write potential energy is equal to K Q1 Q2 K Q1 Q2 upon R. K Q1 Q2 upon R. And in this form, what we have to do, we have to keep the sign of the charges and also the magnitude. So for Q1, let us say Q1 is the proton and Q2 is the electron. So K, number of protons, it depends on the charges. Okay. It depends on the charges. Okay. It depends on the charges. It's not in the book. Then you will have Q1 as ZE, right? And you will have Q2 as minus E, because you have to also put the charges divided by R. Then you will get the potential energy as minus K Z E square upon R. One thing about kinetic energy is that I missed this 1 by 2. Okay, I missed this 1 by 2. So these are the two energies, kinetic energy and the potential energy. Okay. Now let us add these two energies and let us see what will be the result. So total energy is equal to what? Total energy is equal to the kinetic energy plus the potential energy. So kinetic energy is equal to how much? Kinetic energy is equal to K Z E square upon 2R, right? Because it was 1 by 2 here. This was 1 by 2 here, 2R. Then you have minus Kz E square upon R. Kz E square upon R. Now we can take the, so this will be equal to Kz E square minus 2Kz E square whole divided by 2R, right? Whole divided by 2R. And this will be equal to minus of Kz E square upon 2R. So this is the total energy. This is the total energy. Okay. So first start writing from here. Those who have not written. We will use the total energy of an electron that is present in Bohr orbit. And from there, we will conclude a few points. That is why I needed this total energy. Yes, tell me, Mohammed Umar. No. Let me know if I have to scroll down, okay? Okay, let me do one thing, okay? Let me do one thing, because I just need to use this total energy here. I will send the PDF to all of you guys, okay? I will make a PDF of this and send it to you. You don't have to copy this, okay? You don't have to copy this today. Okay, Mithil. That's great. Fine. Can anyone turn their mic on? No one. Let me pick then. Rehab. You just have to tell me whether this total energy is negative or positive. What do you think? If you say this, is this negative or positive? Yes, Rehab.
Negative.
Negative, right? It is negative. Now, whenever there is a negative sign energy, okay, whenever there is a negative sign energy and charges are involved, then one thing that you can gain from this negative charge, one information that you can gain from the negative charge is that the forces are attractive. Forces are attractive forces. Forces are attractive forces. How we can say that? See, whatever charges is happening because of this potential energy, right? So potential energy is equal to K into Q1, Q2 upon R. Now let us say you have Q1, Q2, okay? Q1, Q2. Both the Q1s are positive. Then the energy will be Rehab positive or negative? Tell me. It will be positive, right? It will be positive. Now, if you have positive charges, will they attract each other or repel each other? If you have positive charges, they will attract each other or repel each other. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
You don't know? Yes, Muhammad Umar, correct. They will repel each other, right?
Repel.
Repel, no? They will repel each other, okay? Now let us take a case where we have negative and negative charges. So the sign of the potential energy of the energy will be what? Positive or negative? Tell me. If you have negative charges, then what will be the sign?
Positive.
Positive again. Now, if you are getting the energy as positive, again there will be a repulsion. Yes or no? There will be a repulsion. But when we have a positive and a negative, then the energy will be in negative. And this negative sign, it just is telling me that, it's just telling me that the charges are opposite and there is a attractive force of attraction. Okay. There is the force of attraction, the force which is influencing these two charges, they are attractive forces. Okay. They are attractive forces. Okay. Now, please write. Remarks. The negative sign in total energy just denotes that the force of attraction is force influencing, that there is force of attraction between nucleus and electron, Okay, between nucleus and electron. Now, I'm giving you two cases here. Okay, You just have to write. If you want to write the remark first, you can write. After this line, you don't have to write anything. Okay, so case A is positive and negative. These are closer together. B cases, positive and negative. Now tell me, where is the attraction more? Abhinav, can you please speak? Where is attraction? Where will be the attraction more, in the A case or the B case?
A case, sir.
A case, the attraction will be higher, right? Now, if the attraction is higher, that means the energy will be more negative. If the attraction, because what is happening? The force what we are saying in as the magnitude is the amount of force they are feeling, okay? The amount of attraction. And because it is attraction, there will be a negative sign. So the magnitude of force is dependent on the distance, right? It is dependent on the distance, but the sign is dependent on whether it is attractive or repulsive. Now, when it is attractive and it is more attractive, that means it will be more negative. What I can say from here is A, B, and C. The highest energy the highest energy. Okay, now we are also considering the sign. We are also considering the sign. So we will say that the energy of C case is most high, then the energy of B case, then the energy of A case, right? Because the C has the most, it has the most positive. Okay, it is more near to positive. It is very less negative. A B has somewhat, and A is on the other extreme, which is very highly negative energy because it's very highly attractive forces are acting in the A case. Did all of you get this point? As we go away from the nucleus, the attraction is decreasing. The attraction is decreasing. That is why the energy is increasing. Got it? Yes, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Now that means the maximum energy of an electron will be zero. Okay. The maximum energy of the electron will be zero because it is somewhere in the number line. If I say in the number line, I can say that it is somewhere here in the negative side. As the distance is increasing, it is more getting less and less negative, less and less negative, less and less negative, less and less negative. And as it will reach the point, as it will reach the energy as zero, that means now the nucleus is not attracting the electron. The nucleus is not attracting the electron. And if the nucleus is not attracting the electron, that means that electron is not present in the atom. Yes or no? If the nucleus is not able to attract the electron is so far away that it is not able, the nucleus is not able to attract it, that means it's not in the atom. Now, if it is not in the atom, then we don't have to calculate its energy, right? We don't have to get its energy is now zero. So that is the maximum energy an electron can have, that is zero. Yes, distance is increasing, that is leading to increase in the energy and decrease in the attractive forces, Now the next point is that the maximum energy of an electron is zero. Maximum energy of an electron is zero. Now, when will be the energy zero? When will be the energy zero? You see this? Total energy is equal to minus kz e square upon 2r. Okay, so total energy is equal to minus kz e square upon 2r. Now I'm saying total energy is equal to zero. Z cannot be zero. Number of protons should be there. The E is not zero. It is a constant. The K is also a constant. The only thing that is changing here is the R. So when will be the, okay, we have something here. When R will reach to infinity, then the total energy will be zero. Okay. So when R reaches to infinity. Now this infinity is a relative term. Okay. Please understand this. Infinity is a relative term. Here infinity means that now the electron is not under influence of the nucleus. As soon as electron gets away from the attractive forces of nucleus, we say that it is infinite distance from the nucleus. So maximum energy of an electron is zero. It means that electron is present at infinite distance. Nucleus. From the nucleus. Yeah, now it is out of the atom. Yeah, you can say that it is out of the atom. Okay, if it is not under the influence of nucleus, it is out of the atom. No. You have to write this important thing, which is ground state. Ground state. Okay, what is ground state? Whenever, if the electron, that is the hydrogen electron, if it is present in the first orbit, the lowest possible energy state, we say that that is the ground state. When electron is present in the first orbit that is the lowest possible energy state, then it is called ground state. Then it is called ground state. Next point, excited state. Next point is excited state. Now, if electron is present in any orbit other than the first orbit, if electron is present in any orbit other than the first orbit, that means it is in excited state. If electron is present in any state or any orbit other than the first orbit, we say that it is in excited state. It is in excited state. Please write this down. Yes, if you are giving it energy, that means it will not jump off, but otherwise it generally there is a transition that can happen. If they are in excited state, usually there can be some kind of transition that can happen. Sorry, I forgot that you don't have to write. Okay, excited state, and there is a ground state. Okay, there is a ground state and excited state. So now let me make some levels, energy levels for the hydrogen. Energy levels for the hydrogen. Okay, so this is the increasing order of energy. Okay, increasing order of energy. So the lowest possible energy state will be one. It will be the first orbit, right? 1s. And the first orbit we only have s subshell. The second will be 2s and the 2p. These are the 2p. Right? In the third, you will have 3s, 3p, and like this. Okay. Now I'm not going to make all the subshells here. What we need only is the shells here. This is the first, second. We write it in the first, second orbit, third orbit, and fourth orbit. Okay. Now the first is ground state. Now everything above is the excited state. Okay. Everything above is excited state. Okay. But now, if we see the second one, it is the first excited state, right? Out of all the excited state, this is the first excited state. Then we have, this is the second excited state. This is the third excited state, and so on. Okay. So please see that this is first, second, third. Now here only I'm asking a question. An electron in hydrogen atom an electron in hydrogen atom makes transition from the fifth excited state to the second excited state. Choose the correct option representing the transition. Okay, so this is the first orbit now. So first orbit can also be written as N1, right? N is 1. That means the principal quantum number is 1. N2, principal quantum number is 2. N3, principal quantum number is 3. N4, principal quantum number is 4. So you have 4 options here. Let's say N1, 2. Use one correct option. Yes, Abhinav, correct. An electron in H atom, hydrogen atom, makes a transition from fifth excited state to second excited state. Mohammed Umar, please see the energy diagram that I have drawn. Then answer again. Yes, Mohammed Umar, correct. Okay. So those who are still figuring this out, whatever the excited state is now, you just add 1 to it, because first excited state is N2, second is N3, third is N4, fifth will be N6, second will be N3. So N6 from N6 to N3. So this is the right answer. Okay. This is the right answer, N6 to N3. That is from the sixth orbit to the third orbit. We will come to that. We will come to those series. We will come to those series. Okay. We have not started those. Now, let's write one more thing. Energy of electron in nth orbital. In nth orbital, we found out the total energy is equal to minus kz e square upon 2r. Also, we have found that the radius of nth shell is equal to 0.0529 angstroms. But first we have to multiply n square upon z into n square upon z angstrom. Okay. Now, when we include these things here, the energy of nth shell comes to be, as you can see that if I put r here, okay, this is a constant, okay, this is a constant, you don't have to worry about this, you just have to worry about these two things, because the orbit can change and the number of protons in a particular atom can change, okay. So you have to just worry about that. And if I put Rn here, okay, Rn here, then what will happen? The Z, let me write this, kz e square divided by 2. Rn is equal to, I'm just writing some constant will be there, okay, some constant, to say k dash into n square upon z, okay, n square upon z. So this will be equal to minus of k, then there is e square, and below we have 2k dash into the z will go above and it will become z square upon n square, okay, z square upon n square. Now see, all these are a constant, all these are constant. All these are constant, and hence I can say that En is equal to, let us write some bigger constant Q. This is a constant into Z square upon N square. That means the energy, sorry, this will be a minus sign will be here always. En is directly proportional to Z square, and the energy of nth orbital is inversely proportional to the N square. Now, you can remember a few direct expressions. En is equal to, in electron volts per atom, minus 13.6 Z square upon N square. This is the constant, okay? This is the constant. This is in electron volts per atom. Minus 2.18 into 10 to the power minus 18 Z square upon N square. This term is in joules per atom. Then you have, after that we have what? En 1312 Z square upon N square. This will be kilojoule per mole. Okay, so what I have done, I have put the constant. I mean, if you are calculating in terms of the electron volts per atom, then this is the formula. This is the expression. For joules per atom, this is the expression, and for kilojoule per mole, this is the expression. If you will remember this, it will help you. Okay, if you will remember this, this will help you. Now, if I have got the energy of nth shell, then let us find out some energies, right? Let us find out some energies. And the first is the ionization energy, okay? Ionization energy. Ionization energy is the amount of energy required to remove do you want to write the equation? Okay, write the equation then. I'm going to write this equation. So in ionization energy, what happens? We have a proton like this. We have some shells here. Whatever the outermost electron is there, we have to pull this electron and remove it from the influence of nucleus, and that will be our ionization energy, okay? The ionization energy. Now let us find out the ionization energy for, let us say, calculate the ionization energy of hydrogen. How will we solve this? See, we have the energy difference, okay? If I have to remove the electron, let us say electron is in the first state, and this is the initial stage. And finally, I have to remove this electron and let it go to the energy in the infinite state. This is the final state, right? So whatever energy that I have to apply is the final minus initial, right? Final minus initial. So energy required, or energy of ionization, is equal to final energy, that is E infinity, minus E1. E infinity minus E1, right? Final minus initial. So here we have, if I put E infinity in this formula, E infinity, then the nth orbit will be infinite orbit, right? So whatever be the value will be, if this is infinity, En will be equal to 0. En will be equal to 0. So it's equal to 0 minus. What do we have for E1? E1, it will be of hydrogen atom now. So let us calculate in electron volts. It will be minus 13.6 Z square upon N square electron volts. From here, what you can do, this minus minus will become positive. So you will have 13.6. The Z for hydrogen is there is one proton, and there is only one shell, and the electron is also present in that shell. So 1 square upon 1 square is electron volts, right? So this will be equal to 13.6 electron volts. This much energy will be required to remove one electron from the hydrogen shell. From the hydrogen atom, if I want to remove one electron, then I have to put 13.6 electron volt. Let us do one more problem here, okay? Let us do one problem here. So see, this is the formula how you will calculate the ionization energy, okay? If you have to calculate any type of energy, you will use this type of formula from initial to final. Then whatever the change in energy is equal to what? Change is always final minus initial. Change is always final minus initial. If you remember this change is equal to final minus initial, it will be helpful till thermodynamics and chemical equilibrium, okay? So please remember, change is always final minus initial. So whenever you have having to calculate some kind of energy, always think in terms of what is the initial state, what is the final state, then just subtract the energy or calculate the difference between the final and the initial stages. Calculate ionization energy of helium positive ion. Now, if you would be wondering why helium positive and why I have taken hydrogen only, it's just that because we are studying the Bohr model, and in Bohr model is only applicable to one electron system, right? Single electron system. So calculate the ionization energy of helium ion. So this is also very simple. Solution will be, again, we will have the ionization energy required will be equal to, I have to take the electron from the first to infinity, right? From the first orbit to infinity. Now for infinity, it will be 0 minus. E1 will be equal to how much? E1 will be equal to how much? E1 will be equal to 13.6. If I talk in terms of electron volt, it will be 13.6. Now Z square upon N square. Electron volts. So here you have 13.6. Now, okay, how much is the Z for helium? Nida, tell me how much is the Z for helium? The atomic number for helium. The number of protons for helium. Yeah. Now this is the important. Okay, this is important here. This will change here. Okay, always what will happen? This will change. You have 2 square divided by the electron will be present. Only one electron is there, so it will be present in the first orbit. So we will have 1 square in terms of electron volt. This will be equal to 13.6 into 4, right? 13.6 into 4. Now you can see that here you have hydrogen. The ionization energy is 13.6, and here for helium it is 4 times. For helium it is how much? For helium ion it is how much? 4 times, right? So that is why if you increase the number of protons, the attractive force will increase, and also what will happen? We will have to give more energy to remove the electron from that attractive forces. So if I want to say it qualitatively, it is correct then also, right? So it is confirming our logical thinking. For hydrogen, we have only 1 proton, and there is an electron here. Then you have 2 protons, and we have the electron here, right? So obviously, removal of this electron is more harder, more difficult, and more tough. And that is why we need 4 times the energy that is required for the for the hydrogen atom. Now, in a similar way, what we can find is the difference in energy of different levels of hydrogen. Okay, we can find out the energy differences in different levels of hydrogen. So please write the next question. Calculate the energy required. Okay, energy required by the electron to make transition from the second shell to sixth shell. Okay, so this is also very easy. Okay, what you have to do first thing is that you have to make the initial. What is the initial stage and what is the final stage? So Abhinav, tell me, initially n is equal to how much?
6.
N is equal to 2. And we have to put final stages. What is the final shell?
6.
6, right? So the energy that will be required. So let me say that delta E, the energy that will be required. Okay. Rather, just write energy required will be equal to energy in the sixth shell minus the energy in the second shell. Okay. So all of you guys, please calculate this. The formula is same. Okay. The formula you have to calculate in terms of electron volts, and the formula is equal to E for any shell n is equal to minus 13.6 Z square upon n square electron volt. Now Z you can identify from whose atom it is. So you will write the number of protons there, and n is the shell number. N is the shell number. So you write this here, and then we can find the energy also. How will you do this? So write like this: for E6, it is minus 13.6, right? Here you have Z square upon n square minus 13.6 Z square upon n square. Now, whatever you will get in terms of electron volts. So what you will do here is you will take common what you can take common is 13 minus 13 x square and Z square also, because Z will be equal to 1, right? So you can just take it common. minus 13.6 into 1 square upon n is equal to how much? N is equal to 6 square minus, we have minus 13.6 into 1 square upon n is equal to how much? N is equal to 2 square. From here, what we can take common is minus 13.6. And here we have 1 upon 6 square. Yeah, 1 upon 6 square minus 1 upon 2 square. So you will have minus 13.6. Here you will have 36 minus 1 upon 4. Did anyone give me answer? Okay, Abhinav has given me one answer. Let me check Abhinav, okay? This will be equal to minus 13.6. Okay, now if I make this common, we have 9s, right? We have 9s. So 36 can be written here like this. And this will be 1 minus 4 9s are 36. So this will be equal to minus 13.6 minus 13.6, and it is 8 upon 36, right? 8 upon 36. Minus 1 minus 9 will be minus 8. So this will become positive value. Okay. So whatever energy is required. Again, as you can see, whenever there's a positive energy, that means we are giving energy to we are increasing the energy of the electron. We are increasing the energy of the electron. It is coming to be 3.022. I hope I didn't do any mistakes anywhere. Did anyone else get the answer?
Yes, sir, you're correct, sir.
3.022, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please listen. Now, this is very crucial. We have got the energies, and we have seen that all the orbitals in Bohr model. We have seen that all the orbitals in Bohr model, all orbits in Bohr model can be associated with some energy. Yes, Mohammed Umar, I will do it. Mohammed Umar, I said that I will send the PDF, okay? I will send the PDF of this whole class as the class ends, okay? Now, this is the last part that is going to tell you here, okay? So please, everyone, please listen. And now, in the next class, you will understand those line spectrum. All orbits of Bohr model can be associated with some kind of energy, Now, that means, it means that energy can be associated with wavelengths and frequency. Now, wavelengths and frequency are properties of, they are the properties of waves. Okay? They are the properties of it. Now, D. Broglie will come and he will hypothesize, and he will give a form, and he will give a proof that we can also express these orbits that Bohr has said as some kind of waves. Okay, we can also say them that they are some kind of waves. Now, this is very important that Bohr model says that all the orbit will have the electron in the orbit, they will have some kind of energy. Now, if the electron is having some kind of energy, that means electron should have a wavelength also and a frequency also. That means electron is a wave. It means that electron is a wave. Okay. Now, if you can remember this, we started with the Bohr model. We started with the Bohr model with the photoelectric effect. right, with the photoelectric effect, and it said that electron is particle. Then we got towards Bohr model, and we say that each of the orbit has some kind of energy, and we know that we can associate energy with frequencies and wavelength. We can associate energy with frequencies and wavelength. That means it is a wave. That means it is a wave. Now this is the birth of dual nature of matter. De Broglie will come. He will say that not only electron, everything is a particle and wave at the same time. Everything is a particle and wave at the same time. It only depends, the particle nature is dominant or the wave nature is dominant. It depends on the environment in which you put it. It depends on the environment in which you put it, okay? But that particular nature of wave and particle is existing simultaneously in each and every object in this universe, okay? So the next class will be on de Broglie hypothesis, okay? This will be on de Broglie hypothesis. Now, as I said that now I hope you can, you have here 1, 2, 3, 4. So for example, if you have some electron in the fourth excited state and it is traveling back to the second one, when it is traveling back to the second one, it will emit some kind of electromagnetic waves. It will emit some kind of electromagnetic waves, and these electromagnetic waves, when they are in the visible region, we see some line spectra. Then we see some line spectra, right? So this is the reason why do we see the line spectra, because, and also you can see that there is only some possible energy state, right? There is only some possible, for example, 4 to 2 or 4 to 1. If the electron is in the third orbit, then it will be in the one. If it is in second, then it will be from second to 1 or from 3 to 1, like this. So there can be only some possible colors, or there can be some possible energy state, some possible energy. That would mean there will be some possible frequency. That would mean there will be some possible colors. Okay, there will be only some possible colors. Now, what you saw in the grating and in that video was that the transition were happening place, and we saw only those transition which were happening place in the visible region, Okay, so more on that on the next lecture. That will be on Wednesday. Okay, your next lecture is on Wednesday. Next class is on Wednesday. Okay, the same time as usual that we have. Your next class on Wednesday. Monday you don't have class. No classes on Monday. And Nikhil, you have to come tomorrow, right? For quantum numbers, Nikhil. Okay, your mic is not working.